Hi everyone. Welcome to Unit 4, Web Literacies. I know the time is just ticking by this summer and our class is really speeding along because we're already at Unit 4. We're halfway finished with the class. So here we go. In Web Literacies, we're going to focus on the term web literacy, what it means, why it's important, who teaches web literacies. And I hope that by the end, besides being able to define web literacies and a web literacy model, I'm hoping by the end of this unit, you will have a really clear picture of the difference between information literacy, digital literacy, and web literacy. That's really my goal that I'm shooting for. I think of it in this way. Information literacy is the broad kind of umbrella term, and remember, it applies to finding, evaluating, using information in whatever format that information takes, whether it's print or digital. Within that, we have digital literacy skills, and those really focus on the skills we use to find and use information that is a digital format. And then below that, we focus more specifically on information that we find online. And so web literacy really focuses on the skills we need to be successful at searching for information, deciding if it's useful and truthful, and then doing something with that information, using it to share with someone else or increase our own knowledge. But it's more of a narrow topic because it's really defined by our online reading rather than including print or any other kinds of digital tools. So it's more specific than the two other kinds of literacy we've been talking about so far. So what you'll be doing in Unit 4, you'll be reading chapters 7 and 8 in our textbook, and we're really going to be making this transition now from just finding information to deciding if it's useful to us and if it's truthful. So both of those things go with evaluating, because it doesn't do us any good to find information that doesn't help us answer our question. So we have to decide if the information did that, and we want to decide if this information is valid and reliable, if it's truthful, if it's worth using. That's pretty challenging for kids, especially when they're really young. So we're doing a lot of modeling with them, thinking aloud about how we decide that. And I'll give you some examples in Chapter 7 of some bogus websites where you can have kids read a website that looks legitimate, but eventually it's revealed that this is a fake website. And so it helps them to start to understand how they can easily get tricked by information that's online. And then in Chapter 8 with synthesizing, we're making that transition into really applying the reading skills that we teach and learn with print, applying those to reading on a website. So we'll think about things like finding the important ideas, relying on predictions, making connections to other ideas. Those all come up in the summarizing chapter, or I'm sorry, the synthesizing chapter in Chapter 8. Also in this unit, I selected quite a long list here of things for you to view. And don't panic, I don't expect that you look at all of these things, but there's so many good things, I couldn't decide what to leave out. So hopefully you will take a peek at least 3 or 4 of the things on the list. I will say that the Mozilla's Web Literacy Map is really interesting. It's a way of kind of mapping out the curriculum of what we should be teaching kids when it comes to web literacy skills. I like the getting most out of Google search because so many people, including myself, use Google for most of our searching that I think it's good to dig deeper and learn some of the, I don't want to say hidden, but some of the underlying things that can help make our Google searches more efficient. Also, Google Search Education has lots of great resources for teaching students at various age levels about how to make the most of using Google. Kathy Schrock is a phenomenal educator, and she has basically a portal or a list of websites that lead to other resources. So she's one where, you definitely don't have to look at everything, but you should be familiar with her resources because I think that you'll find them valuable. And then I mentioned bogus websites, and there's a link to several different bogus websites that you can use with students. one of my favorites is Dog Island. That looks very realistic. So try those out and see if they look interesting to you. So, like I said, don't have to look at everything, but pick some of these. There's lots of good stuff there. From your 2 chapters and from what you view, this time I'm going to ask you to make a list of your top 5 ideas that come out of pulling together information from the 2 chapters and information from what you view, and add an explanation statement for each of these ideas. Put these on the discussion board for the Unit 4 summary, and then also respond to other students from our class. I'm also going to ask you to do a search engine activity. So you've been reading about, actually in Unit 3, in Chapter 6, you read about different kinds of search engines, especially designed for kids. I want you to try some of those out. So you'll see in the assignment description a search engine activity. Might be something that you can design so it's something you can use with your own students in the future, even if you're just modeling for students what you're doing and kind of thinking through that. But I'm going to have you try it out with some of those different search engines. And then our live chat number 2 will be during Unit 4. So you can choose, as with Unit 2, that live chat, you can choose whether you want to contribute to the discussion board at your own convenience or join us on Wednesday, June 15th at 8 p.m. for a 30 to 40 minute live chat using Zoom. And we're going to be talking about these 2 topics, teaching children to think critically, and also there's a very short article, Is Google Making Us Stupid?, that I'd like you to read and respond to in your contributions, whichever chat you choose to participate in. Now, I know that during this unit, you are working on part 3 of your inquiry project, so there's nothing due for the inquiry project during this unit because you're busy reading resources, picking out what you're going to use in your project, and hopefully beginning to actually write your paper or your project for part 3, which will be due in our next unit. Of course, this is a big project. It's one that you don't want to save till the last minute, so I strongly encourage you to work on it a little bit each day, or set aside maybe every other day a little bit of a longer period of time, so that it's not something that catches you at the last minute, because it's a project like this does take time, and we want to make sure that you're doing quality work. As always, if you have questions as you work through this unit, don't hesitate to ask. Otherwise, we're well on our way.